Welcome. Thanks for being here and taking your lunch hour for this webinar. I want to give a big shout out to the Arkansas Nonprofit Alliance and Angie Albright, sorry, Angie, I don't know how to unmute you, so I'll have to figure that out. But if it she has been so diligent about educational opportunities for the nonprofits in Arkansas. And I am just so proud and amazed at the work that she does. And we'll be having one of these each month on a different topic. I'm very excited about that. And so I'm just thrilled to be here. My name's Jacqueline Wolven. I am a nonprofit director. So I sit in a lot of your shoes. I'm the Main Street director for Eureka Springs, and so part-time position. So I know that I'm asked to do an awful lot in a short amount of time. I'm also, my background is in marketing. I was the director of the creative department of a marketing firm in San Francisco. And so I have sort of the big boy credentials. And then I moved to Arkansas to work with small businesses in small towns. And so I teach nationwide and I speak to groups all over. And I work one-on-one with small businesses. And I would say small organizations, those that are usually with revenue under 2 million and maybe with a volunteer base of up to 50. And so I know exactly where you stand. And so today what we're going to talk about is marketing tips that you can actually use. And so we're going to do some, I'm going to go through things that actually will make a difference, that you can actually go back to your desk today and do something real. I think that's important when you're on a webinar. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat, I think, or in the questions, and I will do my best at the end to answer those. And then if you have questions after that are maybe a little more long form or maybe really a little bit more particular, feel free. You can email me and I will try to get back to you. Please allow anywhere from 72 hours to a week for me to get back, but I will get back to you. I know that sometimes you don't think of the question till after the session, and that's totally fine. So here we go. So I work with lots of small businesses and nonprofits, and they think they have a work plan, which is great. They do. They'll have a work plan, but they don't actually have a marketing plan because a marketing plan takes extra work and time. And I am guilty of this myself. I am in marketing, and my organization doesn't always have a marketing plan, and we've fixed that. But when we were starting, we just were running as fast as we could, and we just didn't have a plan at all. And it's really hard to stay on top of what you're doing every day if you don't have a plan. And it's your greatest tool in your organization to be able to promote, tell your story, and say no. So I highly recommend it, and I'll explain more of that later. But this is the step-by-step on how you can create this. It's not hard. You don't necessarily need to hire someone like me to do it. And this is something that you and your small team or you yourself can do for your organization and feel confident that you will be moving your organization forward. Not having a plan is just being reactive. And that's a mistake. Sorry. By the way, I should say, tree pollen is at its highest rate ever for the month of February up here in the Ozarks, and I am just dying. So please know that it's just allergies, and I'll just make it through. But if I cough a little, it's because of that weird weather in Arkansas this month. Anyway, so let's have a plan. Step one, and these are all the same steps that I work with much larger businesses or organizations and the very small organization. So what does your organization do or sell? Like, what are you? What do you really do? Do you provide services for the homeless population? Are you trying to get good food in the hands of those that need it? Are you in historic preservation? Whatever it is that you actually do, write that down. Yeah, what's important about that, and we all know the mission and vision statements. What's important about knowing what you actually do is that that's the story that you continually tell in all of your marketing. So make sure that you're really doing that. So my example here is a for-profit, Bliss Cupcakes. They sell cupcakes. That's what they really do. They don't put on parties. They don't do events. They don't do any of those things. And the reason that's important to know is that sometimes you get misguided. Your job really probably isn't just to fundraise. It probably isn't to put on big parties or events. You actually have a mission, a body of work that you're trying to do and accomplish. So write that down. Write that at the top of the page. What sets your organization apart from the rest? This is really important because there's a lot of nonprofits. In just my small town, there are 70 plus nonprofits. I'm not kidding. Anyone who can or will start a nonprofit. So you have to know how you're better or different from everybody else. So it doesn't mean that they aren't good at what they do. It's not to take them down or to feel bad about them, but it's to understand where you fit in the marketplace. So if you're an organization that collects eyeglasses, say, to, repurpose for people who need eyewear, that's what you're really good at. And you could be the best at that. You have to know what you're best at because that's what you should continue doing. Floundering around, I see organizations get sidetracked all the time because they don't understand what they're best at, and they try to compete with their neighboring organization, and they get lost somewhere in there. So let's say your town even has several arts organizations. Well, figure out what your organization is doing the very best. Maybe you're a theater, or maybe you work with kids better than anyone else. Or maybe you have an after school program, or maybe you're offering, I don't know, writing or poetry. I don't know, whatever it is, know that. And also know what everyone else is doing. How I do this with organizations is I just have them sort of go around the table, name the people who are similar to them and what they think they do best, and then name what you do best. And you can do that at a board meeting, and it would take, 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to take a long time to do that. It's a good exercise actually for board members to do because it's good for them to see how they differentiate themselves from other people. Who are your ideal customers? So this is interesting. So this is twofold for a nonprofit. This is the tough part. You have your donor. So those people who are actually the lifeblood of your organization. So I'm going to say your donors and your volunteers, the people who are actively engaging by giving you time or money. So who are they? And then who are the people that your services are for? Now, they may be the same people, but probably not. So you need to know who they are. I ask, and I can send this out to you if you're interested. I have a sheet that walks you through exactly what that person is like. So in your mind, think about who your biggest donor is today. Like, who is that person who's giving the most? It could be time or money. Who are they? Where do they live? What kind of job do they have? What do they like to do? What makes them, what gets them excited? Put a full picture. I have organizations name them, not with the real name of the person, but just say, Betty Donor or whatever, so that when they're trying to go after other donors, all of the people that they're targeting fit a similar story because they're trying to match that kind of person. So there's that piece of it. And now let's talk about the people that you are marketing your services to. So let's say you're an arts organization and you have classes and you're trying to get people to fill those classes up. Who are those people? Where do they live? What do they like to do? Where do they eat? What TV do they watch? What car do they drive? What car do they really want to drive? And I know that seems like a silly exercise, but that helps you develop what types of marketing you would be doing. It helps you understand who you're targeting, and it helps you put it into a very clear picture. Again, this is a great board exercise, or if you have a marketing committee, this is something that they can do as well. And you kind of can name them, Betty and Joe donor, and Sam and Sarah, consumer, whatever it is, so that you get an idea of those kinds of people. And so you understand exactly who your audience is. It oftentimes I have people say, well, our audience is everyone. We help everyone. Well, that's never the case. You never help everyone. No organization is really for everybody. And so you really need to target into who are those people who are big givers and who are big receivers. So what is the most important to my ideal customer or donor when they're buying what I'm selling? So to put this in the nonprofit world, it's like this. Why does a donor give? What are they interested in? Are they interested in the impact of their gift? Are they interested in how you serve or who you serve, the demographics of what you serve, the place that you serve? It could be multiple things. That list is really important. And if you don't know, it's also okay to do a survey and ask your donors and volunteers why they're interested in your organization. It helps to fuel why you're doing what you're doing and how you're going to sell what you do to other donors or other volunteers. It's the same with the people who consume your product or service. So your client base or your the people that you serve, why are they interested in you? Are they interested in because there are no other services in their area? Are they interested because you offer a particular kind of service? Are they at a certain economic development, economic level that it fits their needs? Do you offer resources that aren't available in other places? I mean, all of those things, understanding that. So you have two. It's actually harder as a nonprofit than it is as a for-profit business, because you have two audiences, those that give and those that receive. So this exercise needs to be done for both. You need to understand what's important to the giver and what's important to the receiver. So all of that was the preliminary for the plan. You have to do all of that so it informs the story that you're going to tell later. But this part is, what do you want to accomplish this year? So it's great to have a work plan. I'm all about it. I'm all about the work plan. Love to have a work plan. But the work plan should usually, there's a reason for it. You want to grow the organization. You want to hire new staff. You want to develop new partners. You want to create a new product line. If you have services that actually give you money, you want to maybe lease a building, or, whatever it is for your organization. What are the 3 things that you want to accomplish this year? And when you accomplish those things, you will know that you have done a good job. There might be way more than 3, but I always feel like it's like kids in a buffet line, and they have their plate, but they see all the things and they put so much on their plate that they can't possibly eat it all. And I feel that way when people are in the planning process, that they list millions of things that they want. But then at the end of the year, they're somewhat disappointed because they're really not able to do any of those things. So you're picking 3 that you feel confident that your marketing efforts will then fund or fuel. So maybe it's you want to grow your donor base, or maybe you want to have more volunteers. I know with a nonprofit, having volunteer hours are so important, and so it doesn't have to be a financial thing. It can be just a growth thing, but pick the things that you really want to accomplish. And that's what the plan's going to attack. How much will each marketing initiative contribute to my revenue or profitability? So there's only so much money and time, and I actually value my time almost more than my money, because my time seems really finite. I can always make more money for my organization. I can do another fundraiser. I can, have another bake sale, but my time is very limited. So I sort of put all those together for myself when I'm doing this. But what I know that I don't have money to do everything, and I don't have time to do everything. So what initiatives am I going to do that are going to fuel my organization to move forward in the best possible way? So percentage of it's going to be email marketing. Maybe I'm going to do some event marketing. Maybe I'm going to do some things on LinkedIn, maybe some Facebook marketing and sponsorship. And your pie has 100%, and you have to sort of carve it up in that way. This helps because when your board members come to you and say, well, why don't you do this, X, Y, and Z? You can say, well, this year we're really focusing on these 5 initiatives. We really feel like these are going to move us forward in our marketing. It gives you words to say. I know as an executive director, I often feel like I need the words to say to my board. They get enthused or excited, or they learn about something new. And it's not that I don't like new things. I just know that having a plan instead of just trying every new thing is a better way to do business, and a nonprofit is a business. And I feel more comfortable being able to divide my time in a more realistic way. So think about this in your mind. What are all the things? Here are just some of the things. You can have email marketing costs, Facebook ads, stock photos, consultants, yellow page ads, pens, pencils, tchotchkes, billboards, text marketing, postcards, website, all these things, paperclip, LinkedIn ads, blogger campaigns, you name it, all of the things. So you saw I had 5 things there, That's because you have finite time and resources, but these are all the possible things that you could be spending your time and energy on, And so make a list of the things that you want to do in your marketing plan. Make a list. You want to buy some ads, or you want to sponsor some things, or, whatever it is that you want to do, and understand that you're not going to be able to do them all. That's just not possible. So I think that people get, they don't realize that there's some things that would be included in marketing, things like, public relations costs or billboards, or, if your website needs updates, that would be included in this budget. This is where this would live. If you're still using a non-WordPress site and it's, sort of clunky, this might be the year that's what you do, so this is where you do it. This is where some of the things would go. Social media. So this is what I get asked the most. What really matters? And it was great 15 years ago. There was no social media, and we only could do things that were actually produced products, ads, brochures, postcards. But now we have this new world which is great, but we have to spend time and energy on social media as well as all those other things, right? The brochures and all of that doesn't exactly go away. And so I get asked more about the social media spend than anything else. You have to understand where your customers are and where your donors and your receivers. So givers and receivers, where are they? Are they on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram? For every organization, it's different. You are not your neighbor, and you are not, United Way or Charity Water or any of the other ones. You are you, and you need to know where your people are, where your donors are visiting, and where your receivers are visiting. So think about that. Think about where your people are, and that's where you're going to want to invest your time and possibly some of your marketing budget. It's an important piece. There used to be, I am guilty, hands raised, be everywhere. That was the message we were giving everybody, be everywhere. And the reality is you can't. You can't be everywhere. You need to be where you can do it well and where your people are. It's not necessary for you to be everywhere. It's okay. So here's the real deal. This presentation is pretty stripped down because I really wanted to just focus on what was real. So you only spend time where you get the most bang, and you only spend money where your people are really hanging out. That piece right there is important. You only spend time and money where you're actually going to see a difference. So if all your people are on Instagram, then you need to invest some time and energy there. If you need to meet them on Twitter, then you might need to host some tweet chats or do a Twitter campaign. You don't have to be everywhere. And I think as a executive director, it's important that you know this because again, board members get excited or committee members get excited about something new and exciting or, let's be everywhere. And really, it's just not necessary. Even when the new thing comes, you can look at it objectively and decide if that's something that you want to do as a group. So here's the big question. What will trigger your ideal customer to think of you? And remember, for you, it's two things. What will trigger the donor to think of you? And what will trigger the receiver to think of you? So it could be a donor. It could be, of course, right? Estate planning could be a time that they think of you. End of year, right? Christmas giving, that's an obvious thing. Giving Tuesday, I know Angie has worked really hard to bring Giving Tuesday to the state. And so that's a possibility that might need to be in your plan. It might be cyclical. You might be an organization that works at the school level. And so, September or those times of years, you might be a food bank and it's your big time. Unfortunately, should be all year, but the reality is that people really think of you about Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so what is it that people think, donors think about giving to you? And then what is it the receivers think about you? How do they receive your services? When do what triggers them to need you? This is another really good exercise for the board. You can break these up and have that question. When does a donor think about us, and when does our clients or our customers, or whatever the verbiage that you use, your guests, whatever it is that you use to think about your receivers, how do they think about you? Why that's important is because that will dictate a lot of your marketing choices. Um, if you look at Charity Water, it's a good example. They have a big campaign about giving your birthday to them, where people will donate money to them. You ask people to donate money to Charity Water on your birthday in support of your birthday. So let's say you're going to be, 50, you're hoping that people donate $50 and you will hope you get 50 of them. That's sort of the campaign that Charity Water has running. So you could easily, you could supplement that with a real campaign about your birthday and giving that to them, and they give you all the tools to do it. So they've built this whole mechanism about birthdays. So your organization could also be triggering marketing responses based on where that donors give. If your donors give at Christmas time or the holidays, you would definitely create a campaign around that. And if your receivers are, maybe the end of the month is when they really need you, or maybe, what you're seeing is maybe you offer weatherizing. And so, in the winter is when they really get the need for you exists. So the education might be during the spring and summer months, but then you kick into high gear during fall and winter. It just depends. Everyone's different. So it's a great exercise. Have people think about it. When do they get triggered? When do people think about your organization? So the marketing program that you plan to execute, think about seasons, because most organizations do have a seasonality to them. Partnering with other events or people, so like Giving Tuesday or whatever other opportunities come out, think about that, how you're going to partner. Cycles of your business, where taxes or school schedule or, any of that, holidays, quarterly. And here's the deal. You can only do so much, so don't run too many campaigns. I will tell you, I've worked with organizations who've wanted to run campaign after campaign after campaign, and that's great if you have a full-time marketing staff. But for most organizations that don't have a full-time marketing staff, they're good to run maybe an annual giving campaign that they do, and maybe they're going to do Giving Tuesday, and maybe they're going to do a big fundraiser, and maybe that's it. That's okay. It all of that takes work. All of that needs a plan, and all of that is a large body of work for a small organization. So think about that as you're putting your plan together. How often are you going to actually do a marketing initiative? It's not every day. It's not every week. You have a calendar, and you're figuring out when you're going to launch your things and when you're going to have a moment to breathe, because that's an important piece to it. If you run too many campaigns, it confuses your audience, and it also can make you a little stir crazy, and the effectiveness would go away. So I wanted to keep this in here. This is really for my for-profits, but I tell them to connect with a nonprofit. And so you could also be doing this on the flip side. So I like to have real partnerships with businesses and corporations. And so have your board or your committee list the businesses that you are going to contact to be your real social good partner. And that means that they're going to have social good Fridays where they wear your t-shirts or whatever it is. But having a campaign where you go out and proactively have a company commit to your organization for a month, a quarter, a year, it would be an excellent thing. I have to tell you, I'm out there in the country telling people all over the country, telling them to pick their social good partner. And I think it behooves you also to give opportunities to be a social good partner. And normally I would take this out for you, but I thought you should see that it's part of it for them. So what is your budget? I just gave this talk this morning at 8:30 to a for-profit business, and their eyes went wide. 5% of revenue will allow you to stay where you are. And this is for for-profits and nonprofits. 10% of your gross revenue is optimal for substantial growth. When I do this in person and I have people raise their hands for, who is doing anywhere, 10% and down, people are barely spending anything or they're overspending. This is your sweet spot right here. And know this as you're making your plan. It's also very helpful for me when I go talk to nonprofits that you have to spend something. If you want people to give you money, you're going to have to spend some money. That's just how it works. And there's no I'm uncomfortable with people who say, well, we don't spend any money on overhead or, whatever. The truth of it is it costs money to run these organizations and to keep them going. I mean, unless you have a foundation where, you're self-funding, I just don't even see that it's possible. So it's okay to spend money to make money and to get people to understand your services. It's both sides. So 5% will allow you to stay where you are, and 10% you'll see actual growth. Here's the rule of thumb. You have to spend something. Most nonprofits, I've worked with a lot of nonprofits who want to spend nothing. I was asked to consult at an arts organization, and they really didn't want to spend anything. They thought that their location should be enough and that the community should just give to them. Well, people don't just give because they don't know that you're asking. So you have to spend something, and that could just be as simple as an annual fund mailing, but you have to spend something, and that costs. An annual fund mailing costs. I recently did one maybe a couple of years ago for our organization and in a town of 2,000. I mean, you could kind of put the numbers together. It's not cheap to mail to every household, but it was worth it. It was a viable thing. But know that you have to spend something. Here's this. What is revenue? It's the total amount of money a company takes in before any expenses. That's what I'm judging this on. Not after you've already paid your bills, what you've actually brought in at the beginning. So for a nonprofit, if your revenue is 150,000, your budget should be 12,500. So that gives you a good idea of how much money you should be spending. And things are expensive. The back page of a magazine is $4,000 to $5,000. So that 12,000 doesn't go very far. So you have to know that. And this gives you a real number to give to a board, by the way, as opposed to, oh, well, what could our marketing budget be? And you may not be comfortable or ready to give that percentage to marketing, and that's okay. That gives you some growth potential of where you need to be, say, in the next 2-3 years. But know that it's a real number and that you actually do have to spend some real money. So if you actually have a brick and mortar, if you have a space, our organization doesn't, so not all nonprofits have spaces, but if you do, know that your front window is amazing and make it amazing. I know that you're not a retail space, but it's important that you are showing yourself forward in the best possible way. I went to go visit a nonprofit recently, and I walked in and it was barren, and then I had to go through these corridors, and then I finally got to where they really were, and it was gorgeous there, but that first entryway was just abysmal. And I thought, wow, if I were visiting here, or if I were a donor here, I would feel very uncomfortable just walking in. It was so uninviting. So think about that. Give your people who can come to your brick and mortar, give them something to talk about. Create a hashtag. If you let them know what social platforms that you're on, get their email address, get every person who walks through your door, get their email address so that you can market to them. And then invest in customer service training. I know that in the nonprofit world, we don't really do that, but everyone is the face of your organization. Your director is the leader, but everyone that they interact with is part of your organization and represents you. So some good customer service training might be worthwhile. You can, in Arkansas, you can connect with the Arkansas Hospitality Association, and I think they offer that for free or very low cost. It'd be great. And if you have nonprofits in your area, you could have a nonprofit training day on customer service, and it would be a great benefit to everyone in your town or your region or your area. Remember, they represent you. Even when they're not at work, they're representing you. If you're online, so some nonprofits just operate online. I'll just pick on Charity Water again. It's a big national one, and they are just online. Or Donors Choose is one of my favorite national nonprofits, and even Heifer. Interestingly, Heifer, because although they have 2 locations, and they used to do a really beautiful print media, I don't know if they do anymore, but my interaction with them now is all online. And prior to moving to Arkansas, to me, they were always an online thing that I could give a gift, a bees or chickens or whatever it was. So even if you're not just online and you do have an online presence, get your website in order. That's a marketing task. Get your website in order. Learn what SEO is. You don't have to pay someone. You can do that yourself. Have landing pages. So you have donors and you have receivers. Make sure they're landing in the place that they need to land to get your services. Capture their email addresses. That is how you target market people because they've asked you to. So have a place where that happens easily. You can do that easily with tools from MailChimp or Constant Contact or any of the others. Give away free content so they'll come back to your site. That's a great way to get people to get re-engaged with your website. And here's a big one, and it won't cost you anything. Have someone not related to your organization navigate your website and give you feedback. That's a great marketing project to do this year. It can be anyone. It can be someone's husband. It can be, someone's partner. It can be a friend. and have them give real feedback about it. Was it easy to navigate? Did they understand where to donate? Did they figure out where your events were? You see it every day, and so you're not seeing it the way that the customer might be seeing it, or way the donor might be seeing it. So have somebody else look at it and take the feedback in. It's hard. It's hard as someone who does this to get that kind of, it doesn't really work kind of feedback, but it's probably the very best thing that you could do for your organization. And then invest in your marketing. You have to communicate to your community. So I talked about that arts nonprofit who didn't want to spend any money on any marketing. Not a sign, not in the window, not posters, not a mailing, not anything. Well, they're not really doing very much, to be perfectly honest. And, so you have to communicate to your community what it is that you offer, how people can get involved, make it easy to give. So there's great ways to give online that are easy to set up. Constant Contact has a great giving tool in their email. I'm pretty sure that Infusionsoft does too, where they can just click and give right there. And then you might want to decrease the actual mail pieces that you see return on. I'm still getting a lot of print media. I help a lot of nonprofits, so I get a lot of nonprofit mail as well as email and social media. And I'd like them to really, this year, something you can think of for your plan is, are you really seeing the return on the physical mail that you're sending? It's expensive. It's probably one of the more expensive things in your budget. So you need to really think if that's getting you the revenue, that return that you need. If it is, great, keep doing it. If it's not, maybe start rethinking that and putting that spend somewhere else. So here, I went really fast, which is unusual. Here's what I want you to promise in 2015 is that you will do one social platform really well. If you do nothing else, that's what I need you to do. It's important to remember that as a nonprofit, telling your story in the best way possible is really what your marketing should be about. And that story needs to be conveyed in the similar way on all of the platforms that you choose. So via Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or the mail out that you send or the email that you send, it all needs to be similar. I have time, obviously, since this went so quickly, for questions. And this is where you get the bigger bang for your buck. If you have a marketing question, type it in the chat, and I am happy to answer it. I think what I see most frequently is that most nonprofits don't have a marketing plan at all. And if they do, it's pretty bare bones. And what I'm challenging you to do is instead have the social media that you're going to work with, the budget you're going to spend. This is the bare bones that you can do, and the timing of when you're going to do your marketing. So when you're going to launch it and when it's going to end. Those three initiatives will move you forward faster than anything else that you're doing. What I see are nonprofits running from event to event, and maybe they're doing some things on Facebook, but they may not even be doing them very well. I don't think that's a really good use of your time and energy. I think having really targeted events and really targeted marketing would get you much further. I mean, for instance, our organization did not participate in Giving Tuesday last year because we didn't feel ready to put together an initiative that would match what we were looking for. We do intend to participate this year, but we have a much longer lead time in order to be able to do it. I'm going to have a goal that I want to raise around Giving Tuesday. So think about that for yourselves, is that when you're doing these initiatives, what is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? We want X number of people to attend an event, or we want so many people to to engage in our services, or we need more members or signups, whatever it is, and really plan out your initiative on that, and tell your board. And you know we can only do so much at the end of the day. We have this much money and this much time, and if you can lay it out that way, letting them know what the budget should be, even if it's not that, what it should be, and how much time you really do have, things may shift for you, and you might not do things, but you may do other things better, which I really hope to see this year in a lot of the state marketing. So if you have questions, feel free to email me. I want to give a big shout out again to Arkansas Nonprofit Alliance. Their resources are truly tremendous, and really have grown in this last year. And so if you have friends or partners in other nonprofits who have not yet become members, I really hope that you'll share this with them so that they will consider it. I also want to give, I can't do this without Constant Contact. They are my personal partner, and I am grateful for them for what they do. They're a great tool. I use them. I really do use Constant Contact. I'm not someone who just sort of has them in the background. I've used them for over 8 years. If you have questions about email marketing, I am happy to answer those questions. They're the tool that I find to be the simplest, and especially if you have some people who may not be as savvy, it's a great tool. So again, thank you. I appreciate it. I know it was really fast. I guess I've given this enough now that I'm pretty quick. But go and have a plan and really think about where you want to go this year and how you're going to accomplish it. And I look forward to seeing some great marketing.